कोई स्टॉक लेने से अच्छा हमने सोचा स्टॉक जा रहते हैं उसी को ले लेते हैं.
क्या बात है.
Yes,
हाँ.
I think in terms of the business, it was losing out to NSE recently because of NSE's strong focus and faster execution in terms of the.
They today have a platform where you can trade equity derivatives. As of FY24, I think 32% of the revenue what BSE earns is through the transactions done through BSE.
Hi guys, we're back with a new podcast.
Hello.
Yes, so we're gonna talk about some very interesting company today because there are very few. Looking at the market fall, very few companies are now seeing interesting. So कोई स्टॉक लेने से अच्छा हमने सोचा स्टॉक जा रहते हैं उसी को ले लेते हैं.
क्या बात है.
Yes, so
हाँ.
we're gonna talk about BSE. I think Asia's oldest exchange, which is a pretty cool thing, and I think it was formed back in 1875, if I'm not wrong. And you do know the world's oldest exchange? It's an Amsterdam Stock Exchange back in 1602. So that is when the Dutch East India Company was listed on that stock exchange. And I think after what 275 years, BSE was formed, and I think it's everyone knows the iconic BSE building in South Mumbai. Like a poster boy of Indian stock market kind of an image. Whenever anyone wants to talk about that. Probably we are also going to use that in the thumbnail, I don't know. But I think in terms of the business, it was losing out to NSE recently because of NSE's strong focus and faster execution in terms of the F&O market, especially because that's the sort of like a bread and butter for any exchange. And I think because the technological edge that the NSE had, there was a lot of issue faced by BSE, and for decades I think NSE was leading in terms of market share. And I think because of that, BSE was able to withstand this because of the strong health that it has. But I think apart from them, all the small exchanges that we know, even in Baroda, there was a Baroda Stock Exchange. There were a lot of Kolkata stock exchanges. Today now there are only two exchanges remaining, NSE and BSE. But I think out of I don't know resilience to thrive or maybe good business sense, whatever it is, I think it has managed to set itself on a journey of transformation. So I think it has now present and grown across the industry, not only exchange, it's into mutual funds, into derivatives, it's into innovative execution services also. And I think we're going to discuss that will it able to sustain this, or let's just say it will also fade in oblivious like the other stock exchanges. So before that, I think you might want to paint a picture on what does BSE do. I mean, it's more than exchange, right?
Yeah. So, as you mentioned that BSE, was losing out to NSE on stocks since a long time now, So then I think, yeah, BSE also must have realized that, they need to buck up. They, need to capture the lost market share from NSE through whatever means they can. And hence, as a result of that, what BSE did, they launched itself into several other areas of the ecosystem. So they today have a platform where you can trade equity, derivatives, debt, currency, and it also hosts the country's largest SME exchange, where I think over 480 listed companies are over there. So SME is, I think, the small and medium enterprise companies, very small companies with they are also being given a platform by BSE to get listed and get access to the public money. So yeah, just to give you context, so BSE as of FY24, I think 32% of the revenue what BSE earns is through the transactions done through BSE. 13% is earned by treasury income, 20% is earned by listing fees. So हाँ भाई, it's very simple. If you want yourself to get listed, you'll have to pay a fee to the exchange. So yeah, listing fees. And then it also earns money through mutual funds and through clearing and settlement charges. That is, I think, 9% each. And then the balance what remains is, I think, 16% is from other small and varied related services.
So pretty diversified in terms of revenue, not just exchange. Yeah.
So that is there. And now it's basically it now wants to not just be known for कि हाँ भाई कंपनी आया BSE पे लिस्ट कर सकते हैं, but it also wants to be known for as a diversified financial services company now, is what I feel. And I think they are on their way to make the transition, which will further help them achieving the growth in the future. But what has been interesting is इक्विटी तो ठीक है, बट आजकल लोगों को डेरिवेटिव्स में भी बहुत इंटरेस्ट आ रहा है.
Yeah, I mean,
So
that's actually good for companies like BSE and LC.
And that is why I was just going to ask if you have any idea what derivatives ki kaise.
So that is actually the thing which has got the spotlight in terms of the BSE. I mean, if you look at the stock also, it has skyrocketed. And I think the reason behind that is the derivatives itself. I think it is turned out to be a rising star for BSE's whole revenue mix. So I think 6 quarterbacks in the quarter of June 2023. So that is the first quarter of FY24. There was a zero revenue from 0.2 crore to be specific. But I think zero revenue in terms of the derivative segment. As of the second quarter of FY25, so that is around 5-6 quarters, it contributes around 16% of the total revenue from zero, and it is around 130 crores. So this has been a wonderful transformation that is done by the company, non-existent in derivatives to I think almost 15%, 16% of the revenue coming from it.
In 2 years, right?
Yeah, in just not even 2 years. It's
one
6 quarters, 1.5 years.
Oh, wow. That's impressive actually.
That is actually impressive. I think there are a couple of other things that contributed this particular rise by the BSE's derivatives. I think earlier what it used to do is it used to charge a very small amount as a transaction charges because it was very new in the market compared to NSE, and it wanted to gain the market share. But what happened is people were not that confident because it was very new exchange at that time in terms of derivative, not in terms of other things. And because timing is very crucial in terms of derivatives. So even if a 2-second gap is there, you can lose a ton of money because it's a very time sensitive thing. But I think what happened is last year, the SEBI came out with a bunch of regulation. One regulation was they have to standardize the pricing of transaction charges across the industry. So BSE raised its transaction charges from rupees 500 to 3,250. So that is 6 cents per 1 crore of value. So if you take 1 crore of the transaction.
Doubt. So basically, 1 करोड़ का अगर ट्रांजैक्शन होता है तो उस पे BSE used to earn 500 rupees, but now that has changed to 3,250 rupees.
So that is 6.5x increase in our transaction. So that has significantly boosted the revenue. And I think the base expansion also, because there was non-existent, so there were not many customers. So even today they have around 15 to 20 lakh customers compared to NSE which has 42 lakh. So that is again half the size of the NSE. So the potential, if you can see, is pretty big there for the BSE. And I think same has been reflected into the market share as well. The BSE's market share into there's something called as ADTV, which is average daily turnover value, right? So if there is 100 rupees turnover, NSE used to have a whole market share, 97 market share back in FY24. That has come down to, I think, 88%. So now BSE has come from 3% to 12%. And going forward in the next couple of years, that is 12% is also expected to increase to 15%. So that is one high growth segment that has turned out very positive for BSE. And I think this transaction charges change that you just mentioned, 6.5 times, that is also expected to contribute highest in terms of the BSE's revenue growth in the coming years. And that particular segment is expected to grow at 70% CAGR going forward by FY27. So from, I think, 450 crore today to, I think, 2,200 crore by FY27. So that is very very impressive in terms of the derivative segment. As I said, it is a bread and butter for any exchange. And going forward, by the way people are trading. And I think the other thing that was also seemed like a negative point at the time it was introduced, but I think it has turned out to be a blessing in disguise for BSE, is the regulatory changes that the SEBI came in back in just I think couple of months back in November 2024. So if you remember, there were like at one point in time, every day of the week had some sort of expiry, mid cap expiry or BSE, banking expiry or the main index expiry. So SEBI came out, it's a lot of speculation going on. So they came out with the major reforms in terms of index derivatives, especially, which is the very large part of the derivative market. So to reduce the speculation and protecting basically retail investors is what they say. So changes such as rationalization of weekly expiry. So exchanges can now offer only one index derivative expiry in 1 week. So that is one, increase the lot size, because lower the lot size, higher the participant rate. So they increase it from 5 to 10 lakh to 15 to 20 lakh.
Basically, they want sophisticated investors to, speculate if they want to, but not the retail investors.
And I think something they also do, what is, I think they remove something called as calendar spread benefit. Because what is a calendar spread is basically you buy or you sell same contract of different month. So for example, you say you have let's say a bullish view on Nifty. So you buy the February expiry and you pay that premium by selling the January expiry, because you anyway have a longer. So that used to reduce your investment at a very minimal level. But what used to happen is it used to increase the speculative nature of the trading. So to do that particular benefit will also remove. And I think at the time it feel like not a good thing, but I think BSE has relatively insulated if you look at the close-up look. So I think they discontinued contract, I think just from 21% of the BSE's revenue as compared to 47% for NSE revenue. So the business point of view, it's a bigger hit to NSE compared to BSE. Second, I think what it has done is smartly moved its weekly expiry to Tuesday away from the Thursday expiry of NSE. So that also,
competition का scope कम हो गया basically.
Exactly. And I think the largest contract sizes that happens is, so one good thing is as contract size get larger, the lot size remains the same, right? So for example, if there is a 15 lakh of contract and there is a 5 lakh of a particular lot size. So earlier when a 5 lakh was the minimum amount, there was one, but now there is a 15 lakh. So now it's a 3 lot getting clear in the single particular transaction. So for exchanges, this is a cost-effective method, because I think they reduce the clearing charges for exchange. And I think that is, if you calculate, to give you a number, that will lower the cost from around 2000 per 1 crore premium to now almost 700. So that is also 65% reduction in terms of the cost for the BSE, right? And that is expected to increase the EBITDA margin from 30% in FY24 to 57% in FY27. That is again almost 2x in terms of EBITDA margin.
That's crazy, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very interesting that how a boring old business can go through a lot of changes just because of the business model has significantly changed. And I think the steps that has taken to adapt itself from the regulatory point of view, that is really doing wonders for BSE. But I think derivatives and all those things are
just a part,
a very big part as of today and going forward. But I think there are also a lot of other things going on. So if you want, I don't know, take.
Yes. Yeah. So you clearly talked about how derivatives has been bringing a change in BSE's fortune. But apart from derivatives, also there are other business lines where BSE is gaining traction, and that can also be a revenue contributor going forward for the company. So I think one of them is Star MF. So I think Star MF is BSE's mutual fund platform. Okay. So where same people like you and me, can go and complete their mutual fund transaction or complete their mutual fund ka SIP.
So it is for the direct scheme of any mutual fund. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I think what is impressive is that in FY24 alone, this particular platform did around 420 crores of transaction number, not worth.
Okay. That's what I thought.
420 is very small. No, I am talking about the number of absolute number. Yeah, the number of transactions.
Population.
and it added 2.7 crore new SIPs, which itself is up by more than 100% year on year. So that is there, and what is expected is that the revenue from this particular platform itself is projected to grow at a CAGR of greater than 30%, reaching around almost 300 crore rupees from 130 crores in FY24. So and as retail investors are nowadays getting more and more interested in the markets, and mutual fund is one way of getting.
Even if you look at this market fall, people are not stopped their
SIPs are still there. So I think this star MF will continue to gain traction, so that is there. Then I think the second is that the Asia Index Private Limited. So it is basically the custodian of Sensex, and now that has become the wholly owned subsidiary of BSE in FY24. And this particular the AIPL has also increased its offering. So what they've done is, now they are also introducing new exchanges like BSE Power kar diya, ya BSE Internet. So basically that will further bring more options for bringing in sector ETFs. जैसे अभी कितने सारे sector ETFs हैं.
So that is one thing. If you want to use that index as a benchmark, or you want to use that index as to introduce the ETF, you have to pay the exchange for that.
Yeah. So basically so they'll get fees through what you just said right now, and bringing in such indices is further including trying to get more and more ETFs under BSE's platform as well. So that is there, and I think BSE offers one of the fastest trading speeds in India. So the co-location service which they provide I think two things at the same time. So that is co-location. So that is there. And as well,
earlier it used to happen that someone used to buy a share in Mumbai, and he used to inform his friend or relative in Surat that यहाँ पे price गिर गया है,
तो ये तू ले ले.
वहाँ पे भी होगा. That's a very old thing, by the way, but it used to happen that way.
So as volumes grow, the company plans to further monetize this service. I think they'll start charging for whatever data feed they generate through these transactions, or whatever order speed. So I think they'll start charging for that also.
Right now it's 1.1 or 0.2 millisecond.
But I think they'll start increasing its efficiency as well. So the current, there are a lot of moving parts for BSEs.
I think so. I think what we tell the investors, that you have to diversify your portfolio.
BSE has also done that.
So they are diversified into mutual fund, derivatives. So it's pretty much of course it's going to be a market dependent business. If market is doing good, the company will do good. If it's not, then there might be some challenges. But I think over the longer term point of view, company has positioned itself very well in terms of the diversification, as opposed to earlier it was only dependent on the single source of income, which was the exchange. So I think of course, and also that as the technological advancement goes through in terms of this financial institution, there are always a threat of cyber security and all those things. So that is something that the company will always have to be watchful about. But I think apart from this hurdle, so BSEs, I think this strategy supports the long term, because in the long term the market are positioned to go above,
and they are on the right path. I mean, they, as you mentioned rightly, that they have already diversified. They already have those levers through which in place, so that they can take the growth ahead in a sustainable manner. It's not like there will be a one-off, but in a sustainable manner. So I think it is a good business to watch out for all the investors. And just a disclaimer again, this is not a buy or sell advice, but all we do is just for educational purposes, so that you guys get to know more and more interesting things about such businesses.
And if you like the video, then like the video and share, subscribe, and see you in the next one.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.